Okay, hold on.
Cool. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Bear with us 1 second and we'll get started. Cool. All right, there is a couple of Matt Hugheses in here. If you are named Matt Hughes, then you can rename yourself. I think there was a link that went out with a token on it.
No worries, Parisa. If anyone else, don't feel free, you have to come onto camera, but if you'd like to, please do. We will, toward the end, allow everyone to introduce themselves. At the end of the day, we want to build a community here, and that starts with getting to know each other. So feel free to come off camera if you'd like, or just listen in.
Okay, cool. So we'll get started. So welcome to this month's Ugenie Community Manager Meetup. It's great to get this all started and back up again. We were under hiatus for a bit, but now we're going to have monthly meetups every month with different topics for all community managers alike. So I'm Matt, I'm the CMO at Ugenie. Super happy to have you all here and really excited to present this really educational webinar on Web3. If you're anything like me, you don't really know what it is, and there's so many buzzwords flying around. You like, where was the fungible token? They got straight to the non-fungible token. Like, there's so much jargon around, and especially community managers. How can we try and educate ourselves and put some of these practices into place, or at least plan ahead for the future? So with that said, we've got an amazing guest who's spent many years in this industry. So we've got Adrian Suman from CG Alphas. There he is in his meta-human form. So we'll get to Adrian in a second. So he's going to spend time today trying to make sure it's layman's terms for you all. And helping us decipher what Web3 actually is and how we can use it. But before we get started, what I want to do, feel free to set some housekeeping rules. Feel free to share your LinkedIn's and network in the chat to the side. Great to work. Ensure you stay muted throughout. So what I'll do, I'll mute you all in a sec and allow and stop you from being able to unmute yourself. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A where you can opt to use a mic or put questions in the chat. If you have any technical issues, let myself or Susan know, and then ask any questions in the chat throughout this meetup. And then at the end, we'll pick them out and get Adrian or Susan to answer those questions. Cool. So before we dive into all of this Web3 knowledge, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass over to Luke, who is currently Matt Hughes on the call, but his name is Luke McGocken. So Luke, over to you.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. I'm Luke. I'm CRO at Ugenie. It's an absolute pleasure to host you all here today. I just wanted to start by introducing myself and telling you a little bit about Ugenie for those who are not familiar with us. Ugenie is a community platform that enables communities to own, manage, and monetize their own community all on one platform. The best way to describe Ugenie is LinkedIn Meets a membership site. We have a number of key features such as a newsfeed, a members directory, direct messaging groups, a calendar for events, and a marketplace, plus many more features. If anyone would like a demo of the platform, please do not hesitate to get in touch. I'm going to drop my LinkedIn URL in the chat for you to reach out to me. I'm going to pass you over to Adrian. He's going to lead today's meetup. So over to Adrian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adrian. I'm the founder and CEO of CG Alphas. We are an immersive tech company. We've been in the field for quite a while now, since day one of VR time period. Previously to that, we were dealing with the architecture visualization side of things. We've done a lot of projects for global well-known companies, especially in the cosmetic industry, from L'Oreal to Estée Lauder, Chanel, and many others. As a natural progression from that, we moved obviously into the immersive space. So we started using VR and AR since day one. And now we find ourselves again at an evolution step, which is blockchain, crypto, Web 3.0, NFTs, and everything that stands in between. Purpose of today's event is mostly to bring everyone up to speed into all the, obviously, like Matt mentioned earlier, to the jargon that everyone is using lately. Don't be scared about my appearance. I'm a meta-human, but I can assure you there's a real person behind this. So let's dive in. For today, I will be talking about 4 main aspects of the new generation that's have to come now. It's going to be Web 3.0, it's going to be the Metaverse, NFTs, and DAOs. And I'll give you a really brief introduction into each and every of them 4 topics. Plus, I'll give you some examples as well. That's going to be probably the easiest way for everyone, including us, to understand what is Web 3.0, what is a Metaverse, what are the NFTs, and especially what is a DAO. So let's just jump right in. Web 3.0. Web 3.0, it doesn't have a definition per se. There's no set in stone phrase out there that it will define Web 3.0. It's more like a wave. That's how we are actually defining it. And the best way to explain it is by comparison with the Web 2.0 and Web 1.0. So I don't know how everyone remembers the early days of the internet, where essentially we were only getting our information. We're getting our information out of it. As an example was Wikipedia, where us as a user, we were only reading, or it was a unilateral interaction between us and the internet. It was only looking for information. We were getting that information, and that was it, nothing more than that. After the Web 1.0, we went to the Web 2.0, which we're still currently in, which is the bilateral interaction between us, the user, and the internet itself. What I mean by that is you can still search on Wikipedia, you can still get your information, but there is a way for us, being the user, to put some input in it as well. As an example, you can give reviews to websites, you can give reviews on Google Maps to certain companies, you can interact with other people. This is the biggest difference between Web 1.0 and 2.0, the bilateral exchange of information versus the unilateral exchange, which was in Web 1.0. Now, Web 3.0, it's more of a 2.0 on steroids, with a massive accent on collaboration. So what I mean by that is, in Web 2.0, even in nowadays today, on Facebook or on Instagram, on Pinterest, or any other social platform, as an example, we only communicate by commenting or sending videos. But again, it's like it's not a collaborative communication. When Web 3.0, me and some other friends of mine can be in real time commenting on doing certain things, as an example, on a social platform. Now, to go a little bit deeper into this, the Web 3.0 technically has 3 architectural layers, which I can define by them by being interactivity, the computation, and information. And I can give you an explanation about, it's going to be more clear now, what are the differences between 1.0, 2.0, and what is 3.0 all about. So going back to the 90s, all the way to the 2000s, our interaction model was just us sitting in front of a computer, typing and clicking, and that was pretty much it. After the after that, in Web 2.0, obviously the technology advanced, and we all have now a iPad, an iPhone. So the input changed from just typing and clicking into a more sensitive one, where we can touch our screens, we can swipe. It's more interactive. Now with Web 3.0, from an interaction perspective, the focus is mostly on VR and AR and devices that you will show and tell more rather than look at. And that's why we see a lot of VR headsets out there, and the market is getting even bigger in the following years as well. And this is the main difference from an interaction point of view. Now, from a computation point of view, going back to Web 1.0, all the information and all the data was literally sitting in one server somewhere. And all that information was accessed via a wire, obviously. And again, it was just a unilateral communication between the server and the end user. In Web 2.0, or in our days, even today, we're using cloud computing. So that data is not stored on one computer, it's stored on thousands of computers that can be scattered across the globe, and we can access that data via 3 or 4G. So we're not bound only to use that physical wire that was used previously in Web 1.0. Now in Web 3.0, something changed massively on in terms of the hardware level. We're not using data centers anymore, which are physical locations where you just put like 1,000 servers. We're using distributed computing, which means all that data, now it's been stored across the globe on all our computers. To put things in perspective, let's create a hypothetical situation. Let's say like I'm a terrorist. I know it's not a really good timing for that, but it's the best example and it's the easiest example to understand. If I would know where all the Google servers are physically, and if I place a bomb in them and destroy them all, technically speaking, that data will vanish from the face of Earth. No one will be recovering it, and it's going to be end of Google. In the distributed computing, I will have to bomb every single computer on Earth, which will make that mission impossible for me, which obviously will make that data completely indestructible because you can't just destroy all the computers on the face of the planet. Accessing, obviously, the data in Web 3.0 is going to be done by 5G, using AI as well. So it's more advanced, more fast, more reliable, and more secure. Talking about the information itself, back in Web 1.0, it was very structured in databases, very in one hierarchy or more hierarchies. In Web 2.0 today, data is unstructured, so it can live in multiple computers and be accessed from multiple computers completely randomly. That's what we call big data. And then Web 3.0, we're using blockchain, which again is a fully transparent way of writing information and distribute it to multiple computers, and then the blockchain technology will just pick exactly what data it needs to construct back for whatever piece of information that you're looking for. Web 3.0 is predicted to go really big. Obviously, it's the next evolution of our internet, like a lot of people are saying. Just looking at the blockchain market size, it's going to reach close to $100 billion by 2027. So the growth is unbelievable. This year in 2022, we're only scratching the surface of this new era, to be honest. We do work a lot with companies that are trying to understand how they can use this, how can prepare themselves for what is to come. And you see obviously a lot of news out there about companies doing NFTs, doing metaverses, and obviously the main focus to start with was on games, but now we're starting getting companies more interested into the proper applied metaverse concept, and I'll give you a few examples in a minute. So I think this is literally the right time to start educating ourselves and think about the near future, very near future. When we were talking in 2010, 2012 about the internet, we had in plan like, 5 to 10 years from now on, we'll do something. With Web 3.0, things went up exponentially. Every 6 months, we're getting something new out. It's just mental. So we need to prepare ourselves for that. Now, the first step, I think, after Web 3.0 is to talk about the metaverse. It's a really massively used buzzword lately. In many instances, it's used in the wrong way, not in the correct one. I'll try and define the metaverse from a developer perspective and what are the key elements that a metaverse have to have in order for us to call it a metaverse. So a metaverse, to start with, it needs to have a visual presence, so an environment. Yeah, that environment can be anything that you can think of. It's all digital. So if you want to create a world of your own, that can be done. If you want to be more applicable in your business, and let's say hypothetically you have a shop and you want to shop in a metaverse, you can actually create a digital twin. That is another term that we're using in our field, of your physical shop. So suddenly, if you have a shop on Oxford Street and you want to have exactly the same shop in the metaverse, a digital twin of it, that can be possible today. So first step is to have a visual environment where you can gather, obviously, people in it. Now, on the social side, on the people side, one key element for the metaverse is to have a social aspect, including communication. So whoever comes in your digital shop needs to be able to communicate with other people that are next to them exactly the same way like we're doing in reality. That communication can be done via accessing the webcam or the mic or even the chat, or all three of them. It all depends on your initial concept and how you want to run your own metaverse. Another important aspect of this environment is it needs to have an economic system. So once you're in your metaverse, in your shop in the metaverse, you need to be able to buy or sell, why not, or even trade whatever you're selling there, whatever product, whatever service. So it needs to have an economic system. Obviously, everyone is using cryptocurrency. We can use fiat currency as well, not only crypto. Crypto just makes it more easier and gives you access to a completely different market that's fast growing. So once you're in that shop, you will be able to buy, let's say, whatever product you're selling in that specific shop. A more technical aspect of the metaverse is the decentralization of it. So in nowadays, right now, when you are making a website, you're hosting that website on a server somewhere. A metaverse, to be fully defined as a metaverse, it needs to be decentralized, which means the entire metaverse that you're creating doesn't sit on one computer. It sits on across the blockchain, across the globe, across all computers that are connected on the blockchain, which again makes it completely you can't shut it down whatsoever, which with the website now, obviously it can be attacked, it can be turned down, it can be turned off. There's so many aspects of it. Now, in terms of interactivity with the metaverse, a lot of people believe that to have a metaverse, it needs to be immersive. You need to be in VR. It's not true. You can make a metaverse that is as a platform, at a platform level, is interconnected. So you can have a web version of your own metaverse. You just open a browser link, and you can have pretty much the same experience without being immersed. That is completely possible. And you can offer a fully immersive experience if you want the full-on thing. Those are, in my opinion, the most important aspects of a metaverse. Lately, we've seen a lot of games that are calling themselves metaverses, or a lot of big names out there that are selling land as an example, and they class themselves as a metaverse. They are just using the words because it's a buzzword, but at base, I can't class it as a metaverse. It's just a game that uses crypto to transfer some digital assets to someone, or it's not that the actual thing, in my opinion. There are others that are obviously think differently. We currently are working on some really big projects in terms of like metaverse space. 22 is not going to be the year of the metaverse. It's going to be 2023 onwards. It takes quite a lot of time to develop such massive concept. This year, it's all about NFTs. So this is where pretty much are in terms of like timeline. Now, obviously you see myself as a metahuman. That is the next important thing to talk about in regards to the metaverse. How we're going to be represented in this metaverse, because obviously you can't take your physical body and just put it into a digital format that easily. I'm not saying it's impossible, because it is completely possible. So we're talking about metahumans. Metahumans are essentially the brand ambassadors, or just the digital humans, where we can clone ourselves if we desire to, or we can create human-like avatars that they don't exist on the planet. The advantage of a metahuman, it's pretty obvious. If you want a brand ambassador, the metahuman will be available 24/7 for you. We'll never get ill. We'll never gain weight. There's no issues with it. The way you created it from the get-go, that's how it's going to be there 24/7. So that's on the metaverse. Now, going to the NFTs, things are a little bit easier and complicated at the same time. The NFTs are, the NFT abbreviation comes from non-fungible tokens. So basically, we can take anything that is in our physical world and tokenize it into the digital world. You probably know about Bored Apes. They're really popular at the moment. There's #1 NFT collection out there. This is classed as just digital art. So someone created a digital art, put it on a blockchain, and then just people buying it and trading it off. But there's more to that. You don't need to just be bound only to art. NFTs can be used for collectibles. Let's say you're a football fan, and same like we were doing it back in the days, collecting football cards or stamps, works exactly the same way, but on a blockchain. The advantage of this is everything is fully transparent from the moment you created the NFT all the way till the end. So you will know exactly who created the NFT, at what value, how many times has been traded, for how much, where. Everything is stored like in a digital ledger. So you will have the full-on history of your own NFT. By owning an NFT, technically you just own the code behind it. So it's not like, oh, you own the image itself and no one can use it. Or you've seen probably a lot of people out there was like, yeah, I can just copy paste the photo. Yeah, you can, but you're not the owner, because being an owner of an NFT, you have your own wallet assigned to that NFT. So you can prove at any given time that you are the sole owner of that NFT. Lately, we've seen a lot of brands using NFTs for marketing purposes. Them like Gucci, and there's a lot of other cosmetic brands as well, and fashion brands that are using NFTs. Is another way of engaging with this new market. I think this is just the beginning, and people are trying to, be the first or one of the first ones to try to innovate. From a marketing perspective, is a really good exercise, especially when the market is getting really bigger. NFTs can be obviously bought, can be sold, can be traded as well on different platforms. So it's not like you just buy it and, or what I'm going to do with it. There's a lot of other ways of using it. There's a lot of companies and brands that used NFTs, from digital art, like I mentioned before, all the way to blockchain domain names, as an example. .co.uk or .com are Web 2.0 thing. Now we have .io as an example, or .crypto, which are again domains that are sitting on the blockchain, so they're not hosted on a certain server somewhere physically out there. The next bit that I'm going to talk about, which I think is going to be more applicable to the community level, is the utility NFTs. So instead of looking at the NFTs from a more art or gaming perspective, we can actually use the NFTs as a form of access to a community. I'm going to give you a practical example here. The same way, let's say you're running a VIP club that has different member tiers. Right now, presumably you will give every member like a physical card, like a gold card, bronze card, whatever card might be. We can replace them cards with an NFT that will give them access to a certain event or to certain features of that club that you're a member of. The benefits here are, obviously, if you give someone a physical card with a name on it, that's non-transferable. So once you got the card, you're the sole owner of that card, so you can't do nothing with it. You pay for the subscription, and you can only have access to that. But having an NFT, you can actually sell it to someone else, or you can actually trade it with someone else, and that gives you a little bit of a different status versus having a physical card. Those are the access NFTs. Gamified NFTs, I've mentioned it before, can be like for gambling or for fantasy sports, like football player cards or in-game assets. Let's say you're playing a game and you have a certain outfit there that you can actually buy as an NFT. And then there are the engagement NFT, which is a new area where you use social NFTs just for proof of status. So let's say you use an NFT as your profile picture. Everyone knows, and anyone can check that your account is actually the real account. It's similar where you have the blue tick at the moment on various like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. Instead of having the tick, you can have the actual NFT there, and that is the proof that that account is real, and everyone can see that because it's fully transparent. The back end of the NFTs, it's actually a smart contract. So an NFT is nothing more than a smart contract. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the smart contract as well, because there's quite interesting aspects here. Smart contracts are literally blocks of code that someone writes and on a blockchain. And let's say, I'll give you a practical example here. In the real estate world, if you want to buy a property, you obviously need to find the property, go to a solicitor. There's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a financial side of things, and it takes a really long time. If you want to sell a property, and there are companies at the moment in Dubai, because the legislation is a little bit more permissive at the moment versus the other side of the world, where if you write a small contract and you place a property on the market and say, in that contract, this property is for £1 million, and you need to have X, Y, and Z element. You need to have X amount of money in a wallet. You need to have proof of ID and everything else in a smart contract. Once those criteria are met, the smart contract automatically and autonomously will activate and will make the transaction happen without the middleman. Everything has been written on the blockchain. Everything is fully transparent. Everything is automatic. So when we talk about the NFT, it works pretty much the same way. And they're bound by the smart contracts. Now, the last bit that I want to talk is the DAOs. A DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's a really, really early stage concept. And the easiest way to explain it is literally like an LTD, but on a blockchain. And there are a lot of differences between let's say, traditional LTD setup and a DAO. On an LTD, you do have a hierarchy from CEO all the way down to the low management. On a DAO is more about collaboration, transparency, and I'll give you a practical example. Let's say you're running a charity business where you're collecting £1 a month from everyone in the world to solve a cause. Let's say you want to save all the stray cats in the world or whatever. The people that are donating those money, once you've donated that £1, you don't know what happens with that pound. It might go to the right cause in the end. It might go only half of it, or it might not go at all. You will have no proof whatsoever, technically speaking. In a DAO, you write a smart contract, fully transparent on the blockchain, and you mention that we are getting £1 for your donation, and 99.9% of it goes to the cause, and only 0.01% stays in the DAO, obviously because it needs to run on something, it can't just run on thin air. But everything being fully transparent, everyone will be able to see that, where in a normal LTD that's not possible. And there's other aspects of the DAO as well that I'm not going to go through. They're really, really technical. But I think because we're such a small number here, I think is a really good time to take some questions and try and see how I can give you some direct answers to your concerns.
Okay.
Adrian, we had one question that said, if I run an event, what's stopping a delegate from passing the NFT to an unapproved person?
So you're running an event, you're buying an NFT, and the question is, what will stop the person who bought the NFT to transfer it to someone else?
Yeah.
Pretty much nothing, because once you are the owner of the NFT, you can transfer it to someone else if you want to, but that transaction will be logged on a blockchain, so everyone else will be able to see that the NFT from wallet X went to wallet Y, exactly with the timestamp, with the value, with everything.
So is there any chance for it to be passed over to an unapproved person? Is that a potential outcome, or is that just not
yeah,
possible?
that can be done. Yeah, that can be done.
How would that happen? So if someone was to take that NFT without approval from the owner, is that?
Oh, you can't take the NFT without approval. No, you can't take it. You, as the owner of the NFT, you can give it to someone as a gift if you want to, or you can transfer it to someone else. But if I want to take your NFT, that's impossible. I'm not the owner, so I don't have the rights. I can't do nothing.
Okay, great. We have another question. How easy is it to create metahumans for self-generated learning material?
It's not it is a little bit complicated. It's not that time consuming as everyone thinks. To generate one metahuman without cloning someone one-to-one, I think that's where the tricky bit is. If you're trying to clone someone one-to-one, that's going to be really time consuming. If you want to create just a random digital human, that's pretty much easy. It can take from a few days to a week max.
Matt, can I go back to the question that we were talking about before? Because I think there is a bit of a vulnerability there then, right? If we're creating NFTs and anyone can pass it to anyone, I think the transparency is great, but what if you don't want a delegate to an event to come in an unapproved fashion? Is there going to be a way to deal with that?
Well, yes, because if you're running an event and you're using an NFT to gain access to that event, we can actually lock the attendance to that event on another level. So let's say for you to access the Zoom call, I will have to write a smart contract where I will check that you are the owner of the NFT. So instead of you knowing the wallet logging details, you can't have access to the NFT. Not having access to the NFT, you can't gain access to the event. So it's like a two-stage security, because obviously for you to access the NFT, you need to have the access to the wallet, which everyone knows is really complicated because you need to have the 12 or more word phrase to access it.
Got it. So there is a way to have like an invite-only event with certain people. Got it. Matt, I think Matt's just shared an article as well, an example for us in the chat for those, because I think a lot of these concepts, I mean, you did a great job explaining things, but it's still going to take quite a lot of time.
There's so much more. There's so much more to explain about it. It's like, I barely scratched the surface, to be honest, like 1%. There's so many other things that they go deeper and deeper in terms of technology and concept as well. Plus, we're learning every day. That's something that I've been telling a lot lately. If you're saying that you're expert in crypto or expert in blockchain, you're not. You can't. There's so many things coming out on a daily basis that is really hard to keep up, even for us that are like working actively on this field.
Okay, great. Just one other, there was another concern from Barry/Alex. One of my primary concerns when migrating my workflow and community is adoption of technology. I work in the disability community, and the Metaverse's adoption forecast will leave a lot of people left out. Is there anything you can say about the accessibility of the metaverse and Web3?
There is a lot of solutions out there. We've done in the past few projects in VR, as an example, for medical companies, and there is a lot of help out there, even from the headset manufacturers, from an AR perspective, from a content. I think everything revolves around the content as well. There's always going to be a barrier between the new technology and, let's say, people that are a certain age or have certain disabilities, and there are solutions out there that we can try to minimize the impact. There are definitely solutions out there.
Okay, great, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions for Adrian? If not, so as a community manager, what would be the first port of call really to then start looking into this new technology? Where would I go? Would I look at NFTs first, Metaverse? And what sort of resources could I look at to understand a bit more?
From a community point of view, personally, I would look into NFTs to start with and try to innovate in that area. So like I mentioned before, utility NFTs, so gaining access to certain events, private events. And don't get me wrong, they don't need to be necessarily digital only, they can be physical ones as well. So there are ways of, let's say, you're setting up a venue, a real venue in the real world for an event that you only give access to people that have your own NFT, and that can be checked upon arrival, real time. You just need to show the wallet that you have the NFT, then you get access to it. So that is one example of innovation right there. In regards to the metaverse, in time, and I'm talking about years time, I'm not talking about 10 years time, there will be a lot of communities in a lot of metaverses out there, because there's not going to be only one metaverse in the entire world. There's no such a thing. We will have multiple metaverses that at some point we will have them unified. Think about how we use Google now, yeah? Each website is a metaverse in Web 3.0 terms, let's put it this way. A good example that I used previously is with having a real shop on Oxford Street, having a digital twin. It's going to work pretty much the same way. And another good example is, let's compare an experience from today's world versus how it would look like in the metaverse from a purchase perspective. So let's say hypothetically, I'm home and I need a pair of trainers. Right now, my options are I'll either go in a physical shop, look for a pair of trainers and buy it. Second option is to just go, let's say, Nike.com, look for a pair of sneakers there, and then order it my home. But this is, again, is quite a solitary experience. And then we have the metaverse experience where, let's say, myself and three of my other friends who are not in the UK, yeah, we all want sneakers today. We just decided that we want sneakers today. So in the metaverse, what we can do, we can all three meet up in the metaverse, which in this case is Nike's metaverse, yeah? We can all three talk like we're talking at the moment, and we can all three see exactly the same pair of sneakers in real time, and we can all order it to be delivered home, and at the same time buy it as an NFT for our avatar in the metaverse, because don't forget, in the metaverse, you will be represented by an avatar that you create as well. So the entire dynamic is completely changed. And that's another example where people are going to start thinking of what's to come really soon.
Okay, great. Thanks. I am unmuted. Yeah, thanks for that. Also, we have another thing from Adam. So I'm also concerned about speculators who join a community not to be a valued contributing member, but to take advantage of potential gains in a governance token, for example. How would you go about community design to circumvent this from happening?
I think that can be solved by the way the tokens are released. We can write smart contracts behind the tokens and specify certain elements. As an example, if you got an NFT token to give access to our community and you're not interactive enough, or you're not active enough, or you're not doing, normal, sensible things, you can be revoked from having that NFT. That is a feature that we can write in a smart contract, and that smart contract will automatically enable itself once those criteria are not met, or some criteria are met based on how we set it up from the get-go.
Okay, great, thanks. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Can I ask a quick one? Who values stuff on Web3? How you know, everything's got a value. Who sets that?
The value of Web, again, what do we mean about Web 3.0? We're talking about the Metaverse, we're talking about the NFT, we're talking about the Web 3.0 experience. The value in the Metaverse obviously is created by the coin that you create when you create the Metaverse. Okay. So it comes from, let's say, if you're making a Metaverse today, you might want to have your own coin, which means you're creating your own blockchain, which you'll need to have some money in it from the get-go, coming from either other cryptocurrency that you own, or you're just buying crypto with fiat currency to start with. Let's say hypothetically you don't own any crypto whatsoever, you will need to buy some crypto, obviously, if you're starting from zero ground. NFTs are created on the blockchain, and they are traded and bought with crypto coins. So again, you will have to have cryptocurrency, or if you don't, you will buy with fiat currency. From a Metaverse perspective, works pretty much in a similar way, but you can use money coming from NFTs that are selling to give access to a Metaverse, as an example, or again, you're converting fiat into crypto. But the entire ecosystem, most of the times, is based on crypto, but not exclusively. We have in the works a Metaverse that is going to use both crypto and fiat currency, because not everyone owns crypto or might want to own crypto at this stage.
Okay, just jump in there. So with with NFT, so obviously we've seen a lot in the news about people paying extortionate amounts of money for just a drawing, basically. So I think if we can then touch upon on the value of that, what negative things are happening in the industry? As we know, whenever something new comes out, new technology, there's a lot of people trying to scam and con people with all these new buzzwords to take advantage of the lack of information. So what should we look out for, and why are NFTs selling for so much?
So NFTs are selling so much because obviously there's a new way and a new wave that's happening, and everyone is jumping on it. I do agree there's a lot of scams out there. Why? I think too many, to be honest. And there's always going to be the case when a new technology comes out, there's going to be bad people and good people. For you to differentiate obviously the bad people versus the good people, this is where the blockchain comes in. So before you do any sort of transactions, you do have access to tools that will show you the blockchain details of every transaction on every NFT campaign, on everything. So let's take like the Gucci campaign. Everyone knows about Gucci, but for you to verify that it's actual Gucci that made those NFTs, you just need to look on the blockchain and see that the Gucci created those NFTs, and all the information is publicly there. You will see the wallet address, you'll see the time, you'll see everything. So you'll just do your due diligence before you do that. If it is a fake Gucci, don't know, I can't even call it a company, like a fake Gucci campaign behind it, you will know by watching their channels, because they will announce it anyway. So you'll not buy the fake Gucci NFT. And I think there's a lot of due diligence that can be done on the blockchain level, because everything is transparent, so you can see that.
Okay, great. Okay, I mean, any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or put in the chat. But other than that, I think that is pretty much it for the Community Manager Meetup. So again, thank you for spending your time, for delivering such an educational piece there, Adrian, and thanks to everyone else for joining and spending your lunch, for some of you, listening to Adrian speak. So again, this event will be held every month. There'll be different key topics each month as we go on. There'll be some fireside chats, there'll be some panels, there'll be a mixture of formats as we go along. After the events, you should receive a feedback email. So we'd love to hear back from you in regards to how you find the event, how you found the event, and anything we can do to make these events better. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Cool. See you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, as I said, this will be sent out to you after the call has finished. Awesome. Thank you so much, Adrian. Really appreciate you taking the time out there. That was a really good presentation. I'm not sure if people have left thinking that you're still a real person or not. But we'll share your link.
That can be solved pretty quickly. Still me. I'm real. I'm real. There's a real person. It's not pre-recorded. It's all live.
Brilliant. So yeah, we'll go on, Susan.
It's a whole nother world. I mean, I think that, we work with a lot of communities that are still trying to bring their communities into Web 1.0 so, or 2.0, I guess. There's a lot of transition happening just to the stage 1, right? And so thinking about jumping straight into Metaverse and NFTs and Web3 for a large percentage of people is too overwhelming still.
Yeah, and I think there is another aspect of it. We're dealing with a lot of clients on a daily basis from different industries. It's sad to say, I'm only 30 years old, but in this space, it's not even for me anymore. When we talk about the Metaverse, NFTs, and all the Web 3.0, it's for the younger generation.
Yeah.
And I see that in-house. I have a 17-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old. The way they interact and the way I was interacting back in the day, when I remember I had my first computer, which was with black and white screen, no mouse whatsoever, and running Windows 3.1, and the way things are going now, it's just mental. It is a completely different level.
Yeah.
The speed that things are happening is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's mind-blowing, but it's good that we are educating people and of course, like, because it's coming, right?
It's already here.
I'm turning 40 and I'm like, what? How we just built this? How are we going to now build that? Like, it seems, I think it's quite scary. And as we were talking about earlier, I still think a lot of people don't even understand it. So it's good to get the basics. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thanks, Adrian.
Anytime, Luke.
Cool. Thanks, guys. All right, we'll end the call here and yeah, follow up with you all soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.